Hey everyone, welcome to the L.W.A. book club. So we have some slight technical difficulties. So our amazing guest Alyssa is actually on the phone with us and not
What's a phone?
not joining us on the video, which is really a shame because her hair was really pretty and gorgeous and stuff. So we have the phone like right up against the microphone, so that's how she'll be joining us today.
If for some reason you can't hear very well, let us know in chat.
Yeah.
We'll try and work it out. Otherwise, please enjoy her beautiful disembodied voice along with our visages and hand motions.
Yeah. And if you want to do the chat, you can either talk to us through Twitters with the hashtag LWA Book Club, or on the YouTube link, there's a chat off to the side where you can write to your heart's content. But if you're mean, I'll tell you to, go away. So that's that. So hi, Alyssa, disembodied voice.
Hi. Hello, everyone.
Alyssabeth, sorry.
Yes.
So now you said that you took detailed notes, so I'm excited about that because my notes are a bit on this much. So
yeah, well, I read the book through the library because I'm a big library supporter, and so it was like I got it early, and so it's already been returned. So I wanted to make sure that I took good notes since I wasn't going to have a copy of the book.
Yeah, I also got the library copy of it as well, and I was very upset that I had to return it because someone else was also put a hold on it. So I too had to take like a lot of notes with page numbers, and whatnot. So
yeah. I didn't want to risk it because for whatever reason, where I live never seems to have the books that I want to read. So it was also like an interlibrary loan, which can take like a week or two to even get here since it's being mailed from God knows where, and then you only have a certain amount of time to read it. But anyway.
Yeah. On the one hand, though, I do think it's a good, prod to actually read the books that you take out from the library.
Yeah.
Because right now there are 2 books, and I've renewed them 3 times because I can. Because I'm a terrible person.
Yeah, I swear the library keeps me honest. It's the only way. I'm like, well, no, I got to read this book.
I am such a stickler too. Like, I cannot accept if I have a late fee. And sometimes I check out books for my boyfriend, and I am like on him. Like, your book is due this day. Make sure it's done, or let me know if I need to renew it, because even though he pays his late fee, I just don't like late fees at all.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of things that you do like, why don't you give us a little introduction to how you got into letter writing?
Okay. Well, hello, everyone. Again. Actually, it's a funny story because my dad was in the military, and when I was, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 and not very good at writing, he was away in Korea for about a year. And so that was also when I fell in love with really awesome, cute Asian stationery.
Oh,
because he would send like care packages for us, and he would send me these really cute child stationaries with like the letter was the envelope, and it came with like these stickers and all that stuff. So really, it was the stationery that has always been my motivation for letter writing. And so he and I always wrote to each other. And then when I was in high school, I've always been interested in art, but I never took classes until my senior year of high school. And I had this out of the world amazing art teacher. He was so overqualified to be there, but he had us watch the Ray Johnson How to Draw a Bunny documentary.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, what is this madness? And fell in love with it, and mail art and everything, and so like since I was in a program, we had to do like basically an exhibition thesis, and so like my focus was like color and pattern, and so I included like I made like handmade envelopes out of like special handmade paper, and like they were like a part of my thing. And then so that was senior year of high school, and then it was like fall semester of my freshman year, and I went to a school where none of my classmates met because I wanted to be alone. And I was like just browsing on the internet one day, and I found the the uppercase from like forever. This is 2009, y'all. The uppercase on the Letter Writers Alliance, and I was like, oh my god, what is this? And I found it, and I was like, oh yes, this is happening. And I got my membership, and Donovan is so special and writes everyone a welcome letter. And I was like, oh, it's so cute. And so I wrote her back, and so we've been writing each other since October of 2009.
That's a long time.
Wow. Yeah. You weren't messing about when you said 10 years.
Next year is 10 years.
Yeah.
Next year is 10 years.
Next
That's
year's 10
amazing.
years. That's super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so you obviously met us at craft fairs, right? Like we've definitely met you in real life, but like, so then is this the first time that you've talked to Donovan on the phone/internet?
Yes.
Yeah. But honestly, this is the first time
you guys. It was like a year after we had been writing, and then you guys came to Renegade Craft Fair Austin.
Yep.
And I was, well, I mean, my family's from Chicago too, by the way. But every time I'm in Chicago, it's family time.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to pull away.
Yeah.
And go see your friends. So I was like, this is probably going to be one of the only chances I'll get to actually like say hi and stuff. So
yeah.
That was that. But yeah, we keep it classic and a letter only.
Yeah, because before we went online, we were talking about how both of your pen pal relationships kind of blend the line, where sometimes you do video conversations with your friends or you meet them in person. So like we were discussing, well, do I read this letter now before I see them, or like, so that interesting. Yeah.
I mean, it's not like what we're going to discuss with like the changing of the postal service, where you no longer are mailing an invitation to a dinner party that evening. It doesn't entirely work out for the timing to blend letter writing into your everyday conversations.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah. Exactly. So then let's start with like our first, like, our general impression on the book, and then we can dig down into the details, which there are a lot of things that this book covered.
Oh, yeah.
Like a lot. I almost felt that if you can't go to the National Postal Museum, then just read this book. Like, that's what I felt like.
Basically, it also feels like I read the history of America.
Oh, yeah.
The Postal Service. So, by the way, I did get a chance to go to the National Postal Museum, and yes, if you can get a chance to go, you should go, because it's amazing. They have these like I work in a museum, so I'm like a big museum person, and they just have these like giant like rows and rows and rows of pull-out racks of stamp collections, and it's just
it's pretty cool. So Donovan, what did you think?
I really liked it. I swear I had read it before, and I swear we had a copy of it in the studio, but I guess not, because I couldn't find it, and you had to buy it for me and put it on your Kindle, and then I had to borrow it, and it was a whole thing. I swear I'd read it before, but even with that, like, it didn't stop me from enjoying reading it again. And even though, so this is my thing, this is what I do, I'm writing the blog all the time about interesting factoids about the post office and postal history and that sort of thing. So I knew a lot of this information, but I still got some things that I had never heard of before, and I've been able to pull a lot of blog posts for it, so that's great. When you run a blog 3 times a week, you are constantly looking for content.
Yeah. So, Alyssabeth, what did you think?
I really loved it.
Awesome.
I read a lot of history books, so I'm kind of always apprehensive because sometimes they can tend to be dry. But since it's about a topic that I'm obviously interested in, I was like, okay, well, maybe it won't be that bad. It'll still be interesting. But I actually thought it was really well written and just kind of like, I mean, there was almost like even, you know, there was some humor and it was really well rounded. But yes, I learned so much. I learned like gobs and gobs and gobs.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, you know, you had said it felt like reading the American history. And I guess I wasn't expecting that because I didn't realize just how ingrained the Postal Service was in our history. And not only our history, but the making of our nation.
Mm-hmm.
So,
not to mention some of the other companies that they talk about that I just never really thought to think about that they're just as old, like AT&T and Wells Fargo and all that other stuff. Right.
It's like there was one, Wells Fargo. I was like, oh, that's why their logo is a.
I know. I was like, I'm probably the only idiot that doesn't know this.
I didn't know it either. So, I was like, I just thought they were a bank. So that was interesting to me. And then and it's so funny because we always think of the Postal Services being I don't want to say old, but like not exactly cutting edge, right? And so the fact that
meanwhile, they're trying to do email like 10, 20 years before email was a thing.
Right. Like,
but nope, can't do that. You can't, how dare you be innovative in your field?
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for, innovative. I've never considered them that. So to hear all these times in the past where they were innovative or tried to be was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
pointing at chat.
Okay, so chat. Terry Beth says, it made me feel like there's nothing new under the sun when it comes to the U.S. Also, and race, social injustice, which is something I definitely picked up on as well.
Also, hello, Terry. I love you.
Yeah. So that's definitely something. I was going to wait until we were a little bit deeper in our conversation, but Terry, let's do this. Okay. So I found it was really interesting on how the Postal Service tried to police like basically female bodies and non-white bodies. Like, since the beginning.
I mean, they're a governmental organization.
Yeah.
That welcome to white supremacy.
Yeah.
I mean, but they've also, with the labor movements within them, they've since like the 1950s, 1960s, they've actually been at the forefront.
Of now.
Yes.
Now. But in the past, it was like.
And also, they did have I somewhere back in the L.W.A. blog, there is a really long write-up on the first African-American postmaster in the South.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it wasn't unheard of, but it was like everything else. It was a war.
Yeah. Yeah. He opens it up in the book pretty early. I have it on page 20. He's talking about Granger removing black postal carriers, and he specifically cited power of the information and knowledge. Like, you just cannot allow these postal workers to have that. And I was just like, fuck you.
Well, there were riots in Charleston, South Carolina, the postal riots, because they had put out the abolitionists would send newspapers through the mail, and the postmaster in Charleston, South Carolina was refusing to deliver it because he didn't want that information disseminated. And people rioted because they weren't delivering the mail, and it caused Congress to actually enact laws that state that postmasters can't refuse to deliver things. So it actually helped.
Yeah.
The Postal Service helped the abolition movement because it helped dissemination of information. But then you get into like the Comstock laws and the censorship and like a weird, like it makes me tired.
That was really interesting to learn about all of that jazz.
Yeah.
The Comstock chapter, and
Yeah,
I didn't know about that either.
Yeah, there was so Comstock restricting sexual items in the mail, and then Margaret Sanger, is that how you pronounce her last name? Yeah. And the magazine Woman Rebel. So first of all, I had no idea that she started that magazine, and that Comstock had, like, I knew about her, I just didn't realize the root of where she, what she was doing. So that was really interesting to read about, for sure. And then the other thing is, like, I was noticing a lot of, again, it's going back to this, our history, right? It's like, I was like, oh, I've heard about her in this other nonfiction book that I read. And, it was just like really weird, all this weaving together of stuff I've already known about.
I mean, because if you look back, I mean, our new forms of communication are very new. But mailing letters is very old. And has been going on for quite some time. So
yeah,
it's definitely the formation of so much of who and what we are. And it's still important today.
Yeah. Something that I never really thought about too, just as far as like adding on to the letters, they're very old, but like in the very beginning of the book, when it's talking about the quote unquote postal service, even though it wasn't really like extremely established yet, and just how like letters very much used to be like only this person died or this person was born thing.
Yeah.
And it took a while before they became a social thing, which is how we pretty much only know them. I mean, as far as like kind of like a frivolous social thing, like you'll never guess what Betty Sue did, and
yeah,
I did find that really interesting. How it was it was
early. Like so
it was sort of a media push by the post office to be like, you should really contact your family. You should talk to them more often. What Aunt Sue needs to know.
Yeah. I have it that the rate change that made it affordable for most people happened in 1840. And then that's when the greeting card explosion happened in America.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the penny post is what caused the greeting card explosion in England.
Yeah.
And the people working in the American post office looked at that and they were like, why don't we have stamps?
Right.
Yeah.
Why don't we try this whole stamped business? And that's, I wrote a blog post about Hale and Company independent mailers, because they actually had the first postage in the United States. They were an illegal private mailing service, but they would sell you books of stamps to do your stuff. You could get 20 for $1, which is still pretty pricey.
Yeah.
I loved that little anecdote that was in the book about the lady who, I think it was like for a ladies magazine, and how she was saying, you should always have stamps on hand.
Yeah.
And just keep them because you never know. And for whatever reason, it totally made me think of Donovan. I'm sure she has stamps stashed everywhere.
Yeah.
There's a system, sort of.
Sure there is.
And I never have the ones I need. Like right now, I need international stamps. I don't have any international stamps. I need $1 stamps. I don't have any $1 stamps. I need $2 stamps. I don't have any $2 stamps.
The thing with me is that whenever I need postcard stamps, I can't find them until I need first class stamps, and then I can find the postcard stamps. And I'm just like, you suck, Kathy.
Yeah.
So I have a system, it just doesn't work.
Yeah. And then on what you were saying, Alyssabeth, like there was something there. I wrote down advice that's later on. They talked about the rate change, and then that change between only for big announcements. They were writing letters. Like someone said, do not neglect writing, even if you feel you don't have news. You should write to express good feeling. Yeah, yeah. You should write to express good feeling and pleasurable remembrance of each other.
Yeah, that was like I wrote that down. That was my favorite quote.
Yeah, that was super. I was like, that's what it's about now. And I was like, this guy said it for us perfectly.
Yeah.
So the book okay, so they're like this is chock full of stuff, right? So what was your favorite, like they didn't always this guy didn't always do it historically chronological, so I'm going to say thematic. Like what was your favorite theme, like chapter or whatever out of the book?
I don't know that I have a favorite one, but okay. I will say that I have a least favorite one.
Ooh.
Okay, fair.
It was the chapter on, oh gosh, what was it called exactly? It was the Going Postal chapter. I started reading it at night before bed, and that was not a good chapter to start at that time.
No. Yeah.
And, it was kind of disturbing, and it was also, this is also crazy. I mentioned my dad is in the military, and I grew up in a military town. So, like at the height of 9/11 and all that stuff, and PTSD, I like never made that connection that, the USPS was one of the highest rating employers of, veterans, and that it's a stressful job. And so I just never made that correlation between like the shootings and the haywire deaths and
yeah.
I will say, I think the book, while it presented the information in a factual manner, didn't spend enough time telling us about the revitalization of the social climate within the post office that has caused these problems to go away. It was like a 3-sentence thing. It was just like, so they put in some more checks and some counseling, and now we don't have this problem anymore.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, well, you spent a whole chapter telling me in detail about these grisly things.
Yeah, and then like, I didn't know about that. Remember they talked about that video game called Postal?
Oh yeah.
Which is a murderous postal worker. I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. I think I vaguely knew about that, but I promptly forgot about it. Like,
oh, that was just the worst.
Yeah. And I can't remember how old I was when that happened, but I only remember it being the one incident. I don't remember it being multiple incidents.
Well,
I knew it was a thing too, but I honestly did not know that there were so many instances.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's because of our ages.
Yeah.
I mean, we are of an age where going postal was a part of our vocabulary without us having to have lived those historical events.
Right. Yeah. So that was not a fun chapter to read for sure. I agree with you. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I had a least favorite chapter. There were some parts where I was like, this is kind of boring. I'm not really interested, but that's about it. Like the chapter that was the most interesting to me though was all about the airmail. Because
that was really cool.
Yeah. It was like, I know flying was dangerous at that time, but why did they do that? Like,
why did they keep getting back in planes? Like, that's real dumb. Why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Why are you getting in a metal tube and flying through? That seems real stupid.
And the story about that guy, Knight, that like just kept flying. Dude, it's crazy.
Pilots are crazy.
That just like, I don't know, reading that like made my back hurt. And really grateful for like the fact that the bathroom was 2 steps away.
Yeah, like his description of like seeing the rows of fires, like, you know, helping him, but even though he felt so lonely, and like I was just like, man, I don't know. And then he, you know, he's like, oh, I'm so tired, but I'm going to do it anyway. And it's just like, God. And then the other guy that was like friends with him that crashed and then got in a plane like an hour later.
Nuts. All pilots are just nuts.
Yeah.
I say this being the daughter of an Air Force guy. I mean, they're just crazy. You have to have a certain amount of just disregard for personal safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have a favorite like character?
Yes, I don't remember his name, but it was the guy that they tapped to be Postmaster General that was the department store.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I liked that guy too. The guy who was kind of like the underdog and came from nothing.
Yeah, and he put electric lighting and air conditioning in his giant store in like Kansas somewhere, and I suppose the parts where I got most frustrated in the book were the parts where innovation got squashed. Like they kept trying to do all these cool things that people are always like, why doesn't the post office do this? And it's like, because the law says they can't. Basically, is what it boils down to.
I never realized that the post office has basically always been in debt.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing. I thought it was just like a kind of modern day thing, like with the rise of technology, but I guess that's literally always been the case.
Yeah.
Not always. There were times when the post office was in the black, but they
were good years.
That final chapter, I mean, sort of rushes through the Daryl Issa thing.
That was bleak.
Yeah, but it rushes through the Daryl Issa thing, and it only devotes a tiny portion to the fact that the Postal Service is required by law to pre-fund health insurance benefits for employees they haven't yet hired.
Yeah.
And that's like $6 billion.
Yeah.
So it's just like, where do you expect them to get an extra $6 billion? So yeah, now they deliver packages for Amazon because how else are they going to make $6 billion on top of what else they need?
Yeah.
Some interesting, like, innovative things that they tried to do and failed, but are like popular now. I thought that was weird too. Like, apparently, they had tried the grocery service through Time Warner.
Oh
which
yeah.
Is, you know, which is like, you know, I guess I've never done it, but I guess you go on the store website, like your groceries, and then. Like, I've seen people doing it. It's, like, super popular here.
Oh, I do it all the time because I don't have a car. I get my groceries delivered. It's great.
Yeah.
It's fabulous. I can do my grocery shopping in, like, 20 minutes, and then it arrives at my door.
I wish that I could do that.
It's real nice. Not going to lie.
I honestly hate grocery shopping. Not because of the shopping, but because I don't like people.
Well, good news. The ordering online business is for you.
I just go to the store.
I honestly really like grocery shopping. I love walking down the aisles. I miss grocery shopping.
I like doing that. I really love food.
Yeah. I've enjoyed, this is so off topic at this point, but I've enjoyed grocery shopping, quote unquote, grocery shopping more since I started going to the farmer's market.
Yeah.
Because then I don't have like, you know, whatever, all the princes and princesses staring back at me and like talking about pregnancies and stuff, all that gossip crap at the checkout.
Wow. Oh, you mean magazines? I was like, where is she shopping?
No. When I go to the grocery store, I don't want like OK Magazine or the rest of them staring at me and talking about crap.
I get it.
Yeah.
It's really fun, but for me, that's like the highlight of my grocery shopping is seeing all the bullshit on the magazine.
Like the other day, my coworker came up to me and was like, "Did you know blah blah blah?" And I was like, "Wait, she was even pregnant? Like, what's going on?" I'm like so I'm so out of it. I was just like, "Oh my goodness." Yeah. So my favorite character, who was super minor, I wrote down her name because I loved her, is Patty Lyle Collins, the dead letter office person.
Oh my god, yes.
Yeah.
She was a badass bitch.
Yeah. It's like, oh, she memorized all the freaking streets, and she, just whatever, Ladies Home Journal did an article about her, and whatever, big whoop, and I was just like, wow, that's really cool. And then,
yeah.
oh, and the other thing that I thought was weird, and I don't know if maybe I just didn't read it properly or the author didn't write it properly, but the hot air balloon mail, like I didn't really understand what even happened. Like,
well, that's the thing. They don't know what happened.
Oh, okay.
The story is that the mail sort of got delivered because he had to basically crash land this hot air balloon.
Yeah.
But it's a good enough story that they made a postage stamp about it. I have my recent airmail set of envelopes on Instagram features those stamps. They're a 7-cent stamp. They're very nice. They've got a really nice red hot air balloon on them. They're quite attractive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always thought hot air balloons were just weird. I don't know. They make me uncomfortable.
They're an odd flight mechanism, I have to say.
Yeah. I like looking at them. I don't think I would ever want to be in one.
No, you're in a wicker basket in the air.
No.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a plane is just a metal tube in the air.
Please don't say that. I have to fly soon.
That's what it is.
I know. I don't like it.
With giant combustible engines.
Ah, you're the worst. Oh man. Okay, so I've always been a history fan of FDR, and I didn't really know he was a big stamp person.
I didn't know that either.
Right?
And I enjoy that part.
Yeah, that was really cool. And on our Twitter, I posted the page with all his six drawing sketches of,
the
stamps he drew. They I mean, when you say sketch, they're definitely a sketch. It's like, how did the person interpret that to be what it turned into?
That's what artists are for.
Right. I thought that was cool. And then, going back to what Terry was saying, the WPA murals, I've always been a fan of those, but I did not know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know about the story with Alyssabeth Tracy's bathers getting painted over because they were too fat. It's like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah. I mean,
there's another one that got painted over because there were like Native Americans in it or something.
No, that one didn't get totally painted over. The text on the scroll, I think, was changed
because it was socialist.
Yeah, it was a socialist, quote unquote socialist. So yeah. Oh, hold on, wait. And then Terry also said that there was a stamp magazine called Philatelic Squeal.
Yeah, I tried to look up because I loved that.
Yeah.
And I tried to look up like an image of the magazine or anything so I could write a blog post about Philatelic Squeal because that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I couldn't find anything. I mean, mind you, it was a cursory Google search. If I were to call the National Postal Museum and be like, hey, can I see a copy of Philatelic Squeal? They could probably help me out.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel that strongly about it.
I like that they were even making waltzes about it.
Yeah.
Hold on. What was it? It was the Postal Polka.
Yeah.
And the songs and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, it was the Postal Waltz and the Postal Polka, or the Philatelic Polka or something like that. And I tried to look it up to see if I could get sound of it, but I guess at this point they only have this music sheets on it, and no one has any. It's not recorded music, obviously, right? It was live. So
Yeah.
I was lamenting to my husband, like, oh, it's a bummer I can't find this music. And he's like, it's a polka. Like, what is it going to sound like? Like, burr, 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 burr. You know, like it sounds like all other polkas. So yeah.
I actually I have watched it because I was doing tours at the same time, but I actually just watched the Les Blank documentary on like Midwestern polka dancing in like the 70s that he did. Very interesting.
Cool. So why was there a revival of polka in the 70s?
I don't know that it was a revival. I think it was just talking about how like
There's still people
I
that do
don't know.
polka.
Yeah, well, just about how like the immigration of like Polish and German people over to America, and how they weren't like their culture wasn't being suppressed anymore or something like that. So how like polka was such a big part of their like culture in America. I don't know. It was
No, I get it. It's like that. Like it's not super big necessarily where they were from, but because it was culturally important, it became a large touchstone to reconnect with your roots in another country.
basically, it just made me miss being in Chicago, being able to just hop over to the Polish side of town and get pierogies.
That's where we live.
Yeah.
We live on the Polish side of town.
Yeah.
Well, the Puerto Rican Polish side of town, because Chicago is big.
Yeah. There's this, I keep saying this anytime anyone mentions like the Germanic roots of Chicago, like there's this movie with, oh God, who's the guy who did all of the not Bing Crosby, he was like a comedian and he went to all
Bob Hope.
Thank you, Bob Hope. He was in a movie that was called like Gabriel Blow Your Horn, and there's like footage of him walking around Chicago where all these like, you know, like Polish and German people were, and it was just normal people walking the streets, and Bob Hope's just walking through as this character of like a fallen angel or whatever. So they say if you want to get a really good snapshot of what Chicago looked like, I think it was in the 40s, then it's, you know, that's the movie you want to see because there's so much live footage.
Problems.
Oh, bummer. So,
Sorry about the sound.
Yeah. The sound is cutting out, apparently. We're just having like bad technical difficulties all day.
Don't worry, we're only talking about polka.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I was trying to think about if there's anything else. Oh, obviously they spend a significant amount of time on the strike.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that's super important. I mean, the labor practices. I mean, while the post office doesn't employ nearly as many people today as it did then, I mean they were a significant force, and what they achieved was well worth it.
Mm-hmm. I had no idea the strike was that big and lasted for so long.
Yeah, I mean, it really, like, there are crazy pictures of the Postal building in downtown Chicago, just mountains of mail. And what I really liked about this book was how much it felt like the Terry Pratchett book, Going Postal, was based on our postal history and not Royal Mail postal history.
The whole time I was reading this book, I really loved that Going Postal book. That's probably my favorite one that's been done in the group. But the whole time I was reading this, I was also thinking about that, and I realized that too. That was.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not the only one that felt that way, because when they're talking about like, you know, creating the postage stamps and the piled up mail, I was like, God, I'm getting like a lot of Terry Pratchett vibes off of this, you know?
Also, the Thurn and Taxes popped back up. Yeah. From, what was the name of that book that we read by Pynchon?
Oh, Crying in Lot 49?
Yeah, Crying in Lot 49. I was like, oh yeah, there's our Thurn and Taxes.
Yeah.
I think that was a range.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the other thing? The strike, and then I don't remember. Oh, but something that was I know, the National Guard coming in to do the mail, and they're like, I have no idea how. And it's like they were so confused, they didn't know how to do things, and they're just like, I don't know what these pigeonholes are for. And
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what was it? So the Postmaster General, Frank, I don't know when he was the Postmaster General, but there was a quote he said that I really loved that said that the post office is an extraordinary anomaly, that it's so big, but nobody sees it.
Yeah. Yeah, because you can't contain all of its moving parts in your mind because it is just such a large entity doing so many things.
Yeah. And it just made me think about like how no one realized like how much the post office is doing until they went on strike, and they're like, well, we need our paychecks to go out and we need our blueprints to be mailed. And it's like, yeah, you're counting on this service and you took it for granted.
Mm-hmm.
So
I have a good question.
Yeah.
I think. So it kind of just the book kind of just tapers off in a sort of depressing note.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know, like, where do you guys see the future, like, of the post office? What do you see, like, maybe possible changes or just anything?
Well,
Donovan has opinions.
My opinions are mostly, I think if they want to remain viable, they need to embrace people like us. They need to re-embrace that talk to your aunt, that hasn't heard from you, and we're not talking about Facebook. They need to really push that sort of connection to people as a special thing. And I think they actively dissuade people from enjoying their service.
How do you think they do that?
Because
you don't have to answer if you think it's not good for the internet.
Well, I mean, it's not that I don't think it's good for the internet. I think that if you are in a small town where you can talk to your post person and you know your postal carrier and you see them every day and the route never changes for them, like there's a totally different vibe to that than there is for, say, me, who I can't get my mail at my house. I have zero idea who my postal carrier is. The mail's constantly misdelivered, and I love the mail, and I am championing the mail all the time. And yet I have a post office box, which I love, but I have it because I cannot get my mail at my home.
I also can't get my mail at my apartment. So the post office that's restricted to like where I live is pretty terrible, and I found that out really quickly. When I first moved here, obviously I had a bunch of pen pals, and so I let everyone know, that I had moved, and I don't know how many letters got lost in the mail. I know it was really frustrating because I think me and Donovan's like conversations, there was I don't know, maybe a 2-month weird gap there because things kept getting misdelivered. And then I actually saw like a news story of this same post office hadn't delivered the mail to this one street for like an entire month.
Wow.
Because one of the postal workers saw a dog and didn't want to, it was like one incident where they saw the dog. And so they didn't want to, a loose dog, and so they didn't want to deliver the mail.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was really just crazy. And I was like, okay, so yeah, I actually just used the P.O. box at my job. But honestly, I feel like that's kind of been a plus for me because like Donovan was saying, she doesn't really get to know her postal workers, and I see the same staff every day when I check the mail during the week, and that's really, really nice. And yeah, like my apartment doesn't even have like an outgoing delivery box like for mail.
Yeah.
It has a mailbox where you get your mail. Like there's no way to like actually send mail from my apartment.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I don't know who my postal person is. But when I lived in Georgia, I had a postal one postman, and we knew each other, and he would like check in on my downstairs neighbor because they were elderly, and which was hilarious because then they were like, he's so nosy. You know, and so I've had both instances where I don't know and I do know. And I obviously had a better feeling about the mail when I did know the person who was delivering my mail.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a testament to how much we love this service that we push through, even with all these problems, and we're still just like trying to send letters and trying to be really happy about it, and we're doing our best.
Well, and then it's double-edged though, because at the same time, okay, so like your street didn't get deliveries, right? But at the same time, like the fact that a letter could even get to Chicago to you, it's like magic.
It is magic.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is. It is pretty magical.
Like if you think about all the crap it goes through, you know, so it's pretty crazy. I mean, the one thing I found interesting was, and it's something that Donovan has said in the past, where it's like every single time that it seems like the post office is going to close or whatever,
people come to.
Yeah, like it's obvious that private companies are going to stand up.
Yeah, but at what cost?
No, it'd be expensive. Like,
yeah,
what I'm saying is that history shows us.
So we have a stamp increase. All stamps are a whole 50 cents now. 50 cents for 3,000 miles. 3,000 miles of travel. 50 cents.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, no, that's amazing.
No, it's like totally, yeah.
And international is just $1.15. That's crazy. You should see the prices other people are paying for their mail, and they're paying them.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the thing is that we love sending letters, and we will continue to pay for this process. It's just you quit making it so hard.
Yeah,
I thought interesting changes that other countries are making that the book mentioned. Let's see in my notes.
Taking out Saturday delivery.
Going to
3.
Swiss Post, like the Swiss Post lets customers choose if they want their mail delivered at home or scanned and emailed.
Oh yeah.
Which the U.S. Post Office is doing that now. It's the informed delivery.
And then Sweden developed an app that enables users to send physical postcards from their smartphones.
Yeah. That's a good one.
And then Post Nord isn't even using stamps anymore. They just use like a numerical code, which I will die. I will die the day they fucking take away stamps because that is my joy. But it also made me think of like, just I guess how our way of socializing is always changing. Like, did you guys ever watch the movie Her?
No, but we've both been recommended it multiple times.
Okay, well, the main character in that movie, his job is to write. Okay, so his job, this is what happens. Someone will send him a message saying, "It's my mother's birthday, and it needs to be sent by this day." And so he writes a letter that he dictates it to the computer, and the computer does it in like a handwritten thing, and then he prints it out, and then he mails like the letter.
He doesn't even write them. He dictates them to the computer.
Yeah.
Oh,
and so like that's his job. Like that's his job in the movie is to like dictate.
Why can't the person that needs to send this dictate it to their computer?
They're not even real letters. They're fake.
Oh, humans are so strange.
So I was just like thinking about that, and also, okay, the whole junk mail thing worries me because apparently the post office makes a lot of money off of junk mail, and I feel like as everyone is, well, hopefully more people are waking up to the fact that we should probably do something about the fucking state of our environment.
Yeah.
And how junk mail is, I mean, nobody likes it. It's so wasteful. But at the same time, the post office apparently, like, lives off of it a lot.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
It's hard. It's a hard thing to get your mind around.
Yeah.
Although I think they're making more money off of the package delivery at this point.
Yeah, well, I think now just packages, but with Amazon and just online shopping in general.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm really glad that we read this book. It was super interesting. It made me realize a lot of things about our mail system that I didn't know before, and it kind of made me like all good nonfiction books, it made me hungry for more information to like go, you know, like it took me a long time to read it because I kept putting the book down to do searches on things like, well, what does FDR's sketches look like, and what stamps did he actually release, and like, what is the air mail route that they had, like looking for maps for that and stuff. So
yeah.
Meanwhile, she doesn't send any of this information to me, and I could make a blog post out of it. Doesn't bother.
You read the same book.
Well, I didn't think to look up FDR's stamp sketches, though. It's really cool.
So for everyone who doesn't know, Donovan writes the blog and I write the tweets.
Mostly.
So
sometimes I'm like, I want to tweet this thing. I don't remember what the password is. Now you have to go fix it. Sorry.
Whatever. It's fine. So yeah. Anyway, I don't think I have any other notes on this book. Do you have any last things that you wanted to say about it?
Not really. I mean, just the same. I really enjoyed it. It was so interesting. And I really liked it a lot.
Well, thank you for putting up with our technical difficulties and calling in and participating and being such a good pen pal and being so positive about the post office and just everything. You're swell.
Yeah.
Well, thank you too.
And then before we say goodbye to everyone,
thank you everybody who joined chat as well.
Yes, who joined chat. The next book that we're reading is going to be Mr. Oh shoot, I have to find the title. It's like,
Dear Mr. Rogers,
Does It Ever Rain in Your Neighborhood?
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay, I saw that the other day that you like had put that down on Goodreads, and like I think I literally like squealed in person.
Yeah. I love
Mr. Rogers.
I love Mr. Rogers too. And
if you don't love Mr. Rogers, I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the stamp is coming out, which, oh my God, by the way, those stamps that are coming out this year, I am like super jazzed about 99% of them.
Yeah, absolutely. They're really hitting it out of the park with the stamp designs this year.
Yeah, so I thought it would be a fun book for spring, and then there's a stamp coming out with him, so we just were like, Mr. Rogers rules, let's do this. We don't know the date for it yet, and the reason that we don't know the date for our discussion is because we don't have a guest yet, and that's where you guys come in. So if you would like to be a guest on the book club, then just take a picture with your favorite childhood book and hashtag it with LWA book club. And the reason that
doesn't have to be Postal related.
No, just childhood, because we're talking about Mr. Rogers, who is, everyone I would assume watched when they were a kid, and if not, you're a kid at heart. So just give us a picture of your favorite childhood book. Does not have to be Postal related, and then we'll choose someone at random to be our guest.
Yeah,
so
it's easy.
Yeah, totally.
It's easy and fun.
Mm-hmm.
Even when it doesn't work.
Yeah. So that's all. And then we don't have a date, but it's going to be sometime in March. So and we'll just post it on the blog and on Twitter. Donovan's going to post it on the blog. I'm going to post it on Twitter. And
we'll probably both Instagram it.
Yeah. And then we'll also have that info on the Goodreads group as well. So, but go ahead and try to get that from your library or interlibrary loan or buy it or whatever. It looks like it's a short one, I think.
Yeah, it shouldn't be a taxing book to read.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be extremely heavy. Yeah. Nice, light springtime reading.
Yeah, totally. So we hope that we see you all then. And thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much, Alyssabeth. You rock.
Yeah.
So we'll see you all guys next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.